The massive chamber on Zentara Prime buzzed with alien voices as the Galactic Council prepared for another session. 12 different species sat in their designated areas, each representing civilizations that had ruled the stars for thousands of years. The air felt thick with arrogance and power as these beings prepared to discuss the fate of a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. Kyle Martinez sat alone in the human section, his formal diplomatic uniform feeling heavy under the weight of countless alien eyes. For 3 years he had been Earth's voice in this chamber, pleading for humanity's acceptance into the galactic community. Every session brought the same result: mockery, dismissal, and condescending laughter from beings who saw humans as nothing more than primitive creatures playing with fire. Emperor Vexler of the Korthani Empire rose from his throne-like chair, his massive frame casting shadows across the chamber floor. His 4 arms moved with practiced authority as he gestured toward the holographic display that materialized in the center of the room. The image showed Earth in all its blue and green beauty, rotating slowly as data streams appeared alongside it. "Fellow council members," Vexler began, his voice carrying the tone of someone addressing children, "we gather today to address the continued requests from this species calling themselves humans. They persist in their demands for equal membership in our council despite their obvious limitations." Laughter rippled through the chamber as various alien representatives exchanged amused glances. Kyle felt his jaw tighten but remained silent, knowing that any interruption would only make things worse for Earth's case. Admiral Zilinth of the Veltari Federation activated her personal display, showing detailed scans of Earth's military capabilities. Her crystalline body reflected the light from the hologram as she spoke with clinical detachment. "Our surveillance teams have completed their analysis of human defensive systems. The results are quite entertaining." The display zoomed in on Earth's naval fleets, showing aircraft carriers, destroyers, and submarines moving through the planet's oceans. Zilinth's voice took on a mocking tone as she continued. "These creatures still use chemical propulsion for their primitive vessels. They float on the surface of their planet's water, firing metal projectiles at ranges that would be considered hand-to-hand combat by our standards." More laughter filled the chamber as the display shifted to show human aircraft. Fighter jets screamed across the sky, their engines leaving trails of exhaust as they performed maneuvers that the aliens found laughably simple. "Their atmospheric craft move at speeds that our cargo haulers exceed while coasting," Zilinth observed. "They consider breaking the sound barrier an achievement worthy of celebration." Kyle watched the display with growing frustration as Earth's military assets were presented like curiosities in a museum. The aliens had no idea what they were really looking at, but explaining would be pointless until they were ready to listen. The presentation continued with footage of human ground forces. Soldiers in camouflage uniforms moved through training exercises, their weapons flashing as they engaged targets. Tank columns rolled across desert landscapes while helicopter gunships provided air support. To the assembled aliens, it all looked like an elaborate game played by children. "Their most advanced weapons rely on nuclear fission," Zilinth announced, bringing up images of missilos and nuclear submarines. "They split atoms to create explosions that they consider devastating. Our engineering teams estimate that their largest warheads could barely crack a small asteroid." The chamber erupted in genuine laughter now, with some aliens pointing at the display while others shook their heads in disbelief. Emperor Vexler raised one of his 4 hands for silence, his expression showing the kind of patience reserved for dealing with particularly slow students. "The humans have presented their case for 3 years," Vexler continued, his voice carrying across the now quiet chamber. "They speak of their achievements, their potential, their desire to join our community as equals. Yet the evidence before us shows a species that has barely left their home planet. They have no faster-than-light travel, no energy shields, no particle weapons. They fight with metal bullets and chemical explosives like savages from the dawn of time." Kyle felt his hands clench into fists under the table but forced himself to remain calm. He had heard these arguments countless times before, but they never got easier to endure. The aliens saw only what they wanted to see, missing the deeper truth about humanity's capabilities. Council member Torvik of the Jean Hegemony leaned forward, his insectoid features clicking as he spoke. Perhaps we should consider the entertainment value of keeping them around as pets. They show such amusing determination in their futile efforts to reach the stars. The laughter that followed was cruel and dismissive, cutting through Kyle like a blade. He had transmitted every word of these sessions back to Earth, knowing that President Lisa Carter and her advisors were watching from billions of miles away. The patience of the human leadership was wearing thin, and Kyle knew that time was running out for a peaceful resolution. Emperor Vexler gestured toward Kyle, acknowledging his presence for the first time in the session. Ambassador Martinez, your people have had 3 years to demonstrate their worthiness. The evidence speaks for itself. Humanity lacks the technology, the wisdom, and the strength to stand among the civilized races of the galaxy. Kyle stood slowly, his voice steady despite the anger burning in his chest. My people have achieved more in the past century than most civilizations accomplish in millennia. We have split the atom, conquered diseases, and sent our explorers to other worlds. We have built cities that reach toward the stars and created technologies that would have seemed impossible to our ancestors. Yet you still fight with primitive weapons and crawl between planets at speeds that would embarrass our ancestors. Vexler replied dismissively, your greatest achievements are children's toys compared to what we mastered eons ago. The Emperor's tone grew more serious as he continued. The Council offers humanity a final choice. Submit to our authority and accept status as a client species under our protection, or face the consequences of your continued defiance. We have been patient, but that patience has limits. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber as the other council members nodded their approval. The threat was clear: surrender or face the combined might of 12 advanced civilizations that had been conquering worlds. When humanity was still learning to make fire, Kyle felt the weight of Earth's future pressing down on him as he stood in the center of the hostile chamber. I request 48 hours to consult with my government, he said formally, knowing that the response from Earth was already decided. Very well, Vexler agreed with the magnanimity of someone granting a condemned prisoner a final meal. 48 hours to accept reality? Use that time wisely, Ambassador Martinez. The galaxy has been patient with your species, but that patience is not infinite. As the session ended and the aliens filed out of the chamber, Kyle remained standing alone in the human section. The holographic display still showed Earth rotating peacefully in the void, unaware that its fate was being decided by beings who saw humanity as nothing more than an annoyance to be dealt with. The transmission to Earth was already being prepared, carrying news that would change everything. The Galactic Council had made their final offer, and Kyle knew exactly what President Carter's response would be. Humanity had never bowed to bullies, and they were not about to start now, regardless of how advanced those bullies claimed to be. The emergency session in the White House Situation Room began at 3 a.m. President Lisa Carter sat at the head of the table, her face grim as she reviewed the transmission from Ambassador Kyle Martinez. The holographic display showed the Galactic Council's ultimatum in stark detail, each alien face radiating the kind of arrogance that had sparked wars throughout human history. Admiral Jake Powell leaned back in his chair, his weathered hands folded as he studied the alien footage. 40 years of naval service had taught him to read enemies, and these aliens reminded him of every bully he had ever encountered. They think we're defenseless, he said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had seen real combat. Defense. Secretary Ryan Clark shuffled through classified documents, each page stamped with security clearances that few people on Earth possessed. The surveillance data shows they have no idea what we've been building, he said, glancing at General Amy Roberts, who sat across from him. 3 years of watching us, and they missed everything that matters. General Roberts nodded, her expression thoughtful as she considered the implications. They focused on our conventional forces and ignored the real preparations. Classic intelligence failure caused by preconceived notions about what they expected to find. President Carter activated the secure communication system, her voice carrying to facilities around the world that officially did not exist. Project Deep Blue is now active. All personnel report to designated stations immediately. This is not a drill. 5 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean, warning lights flashed in corridors that had never appeared on any government blueprint. The Deep Blue facility had been under construction for 15 years, built in complete secrecy using technology that the surface world had never seen. Workers moved with practiced efficiency as they prepared for an activation that everyone had hoped would never come. Captain Alex Morgan stood on the observation deck overlooking the main hangar, watching as teams of technicians performed final checks on humanity's greatest secret. The USS Defiance rested in its berth like a sleeping giant, its hull gleaming under the artificial lights. The ship was beautiful in the way that only perfectly engineered weapons could be beautiful. Every curve and angle designed for maximum effectiveness. Dr. Elena Vasquez approached from the research section, her tablet displaying streams of data that would have been impossible to understand just 20 years earlier. The quantum fusion reactors are operating at full capacity, she reported, her voice mixing excitement with professional calm. Power output is exceeding all projections by 12%. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement, and their most closely guarded secret. Every piece of alien technology that had fallen to Earth over the past decades had been studied, understood, and improved upon. Crashed probes, intercepted communications, and debris from alien ships had all contributed to the knowledge base that made the USS Defiance possible. Captain Morgan walked along the ship's hull, running his hand along the smooth surface that looked like metal but was actually something far more advanced. The hull material could absorb energy weapons, redistribute impact forces, and even repair minor damage automatically. The aliens had been using similar technology for centuries, but humanity had taken it several steps further. Lieutenant Commander Steve Hughes emerged from the crew quarters, his tablet showing the final roster of personnel selected for the mission. 200 men and women had been chosen from the best that Earth's military had to offer, each one trained in technologies that the general public could not even imagine. They had spent years preparing for this moment, drilling in zero-gravity chambers and studying alien warfare tactics. "The crew is ready, Captain," Hughes reported, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who had worked with these people for years. "Lieutenant Maya Turner has the tactical systems online, and Sergeant Chris Bailey reports all weapon systems are functioning perfectly." The weapon systems were humanity's masterpiece, combining alien energy manipulation with human engineering innovation. The main quantum cannons could tear through any known shield technology, while the defensive arrays could absorb and redirect incoming fire. The ship's armor was layered with materials that had been discovered in alien wrecks and enhanced with human nanotechnology. Dr. Kevin Walsh supervised the final activation of the ship's artificial intelligence system, a quantum computer that had been programmed with every piece of information about alien technology and tactics. The AI would serve as the ship's voice and tactical advisor, processing battlefield information faster than any human crew could manage. "All systems are green across the board," Walsh reported, his voice carrying over the facility's communication system. "The AI is fully integrated and ready for deployment." In the engineering section, Petty Officer Sam Rodriguez made final adjustments to the revolutionary jump drive system. The technology had been reverse-engineered from alien ships, but humanity had improved it far beyond its original capabilities. Where alien vessels required days or weeks to travel between star systems, the USS Defiance could make the same journey in hours. The ship's quantum computers had mapped every known alien patrol route, identified their communication frequencies, and analyzed their tactical weaknesses. The Galactic Council's overconfidence had made them predictable, following the same patterns they had used for centuries without considering that someone might be watching and learning. President Carter's voice echoed through the facility as she addressed the crew over the secure communication system. "You carry the hopes and dreams of every human being on this mission. The aliens think we are primitive and weak, but you will show them the truth about humanity's capabilities. Captain Morgan assembled his crew in the main briefing room, their faces reflecting the gravity of the situation. These men and women understood that they were about to make history, but they also knew that failure would mean the end of human independence forever. "We are not going to war," Morgan told his crew, his voice steady and clear. "We are going to deliver a message. The aliens have underestimated us because they stopped innovating centuries ago. They became comfortable with their superiority and forgot that progress requires constant effort." The crew nodded, understanding the mission's true purpose. They were not going to conquer the galaxy or destroy alien civilizations. They were going to demonstrate that humanity deserved respect and would not be treated as a subject species. Lieutenant Turner activated the tactical display, showing the route to Zentara Prime and the alien forces they would encounter. "Intelligence suggests they have over 500 ships in the system," she reported. "Their technology is advanced but outdated, and their tactics are predictable based on historical patterns." The final preparations continued through the night, as teams loaded supplies, checked systems, and prepared for a journey that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The USS Defiance was more than just a warship. It was proof that humans could not only match alien technology, but surpass it through innovation and determination. As dawn broke over the Pacific, the launch sequence began. The ship's engines came online with a sound like controlled thunder, and the massive vessel rose from its berth toward the surface. The moment of truth had arrived, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of achieving when pushed to their limits. The USS Defiance slipped through the void of space like a shadow, its hull absorbing the light from distant stars as it traveled toward the edge of known space. Captain Alex Morgan stood on the bridge, watching the star charts display their progress through regions that no human had ever seen before. The ship's revolutionary jump drive made the journey feel almost effortless, covering distances that would have taken conventional vessels months in just a few hours. The crew moved with quiet efficiency through the ship's corridors, each person focused on their duties while understanding the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. They were not just representing Earth anymore. They were proving that humanity belonged among the stars as equals, not as subjects bowing to alien masters. Lieutenant Maya Turner monitored the tactical displays from her station, tracking the movements of alien patrol fleets throughout the sector. Her screen showed dozens of ship signatures moving in predictable patterns, following routes that had not changed in decades. The aliens' confidence in their superiority had made them lazy, and that laziness would soon become their weakness. "Captain, we have contact," Turner reported, her voice calm despite the significance of the moment. 12 vessels bearing 27 Mark IV moving in standard patrol formation. Configuration matches Corthony Empire specifications. Captain Morgan moved to the main display, studying the alien formation as it appeared on the tactical screen. The Corthony ships were large and impressive, their hulls covered in the kind of energy weapons that had conquered countless worlds. To any normal observer, they would have seemed overwhelmingly powerful, but the USS Defiance was far from normal. "Open a channel," Morgan ordered, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had prepared for this moment for years. "Let them know we are here." The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the lead Corthony vessel. Captain Vordan appeared in the display, his forearms moving in gestures that conveyed both authority and casual dismissal. His face showed the kind of boredom that came from years of dealing with species that posed no real threat to his empire. "Unknown vessel, you are entering restricted space," Vordan announced, his voice carrying the tone of someone addressing a lost child. "Identify yourself and state your business in this sector." Captain Morgan stepped forward, his uniform crisp and his bearing showing no sign of intimidation despite facing beings who had been conquering worlds when humanity was still learning to make fire. "This is Captain Alex Morgan of the USS Defiance, representing Earth and the human species. We are traveling to Zentara Prime on diplomatic business." The alien captain's expression changed from boredom to amusement as he processed the information. His crew could be heard laughing in the background, their voices carrying across the communication channel like the sound of predators who had just spotted easy prey. "Humans," Vorden said, his voice dripping with condescension. "The primitive species that has been pestering the Council with their pathetic requests for membership. Your ambassador has been quite entertaining, but this charade has gone on long enough." The alien captain leaned forward in his chair, his forearms spreading wide in a gesture that was clearly meant to be intimidating. "Turn your primitive vessel around and return to your little planet before we are forced to destroy it. Consider this a mercy that you will not receive again." Captain Morgan's expression remained calm, but his crew could see the slight tightening around his eyes that indicated his growing anger. "We decline your generous offer. Our mission will continue as planned." The laughter from the alien ship grew louder, and Vordan's face showed the kind of cruel amusement that came from watching someone walk into obvious danger. "Very well, human. Your species will learn about the price of defying the Galactic Council. All ships, prepare to fire. Let us give these primitives a demonstration of real power." The 12 Corthony vessels moved into attack formation, their weapon systems charging with the distinctive whine of energy weapons that had silenced resistance across the galaxy. The alien ships were beautiful in their deadliness, each one capable of reducing a city to ash in minutes. Lieutenant Turner's fingers danced across her console as she tracked the incoming threat. "All enemy vessels are powering weapons," she reported, her voice steady despite the overwhelming odds they faced. "Estimated time the weapons lock is 30 seconds. Sergeant Chris Bailey activated the ship's defensive systems from his weapons station, watching as the USS Defiance's advanced technology came online. The ship's shields were unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered, designed to absorb and redirect energy rather than simply block it. "Shields at maximum power," Bailey reported, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who had spent years training with these systems. "All weapon systems are online and ready for engagement." The alien attack came with the force of a dozen suns, energy beams lancing through space toward the lone human vessel. The combined firepower would have been enough to destroy a small moon, but the USS Defiance absorbed the assault without even a flicker from its shields. Captain Morgan watched the energy readings on his display, noting how the ship's advanced systems converted the incoming attack into power for their own weapons. "Return fire," he ordered, his voice cutting through the sudden silence that had fallen over the alien communication channel. The USS Defiance's quantum cannons fired with surgical precision, each shot carefully aimed to disable rather than destroy. The alien vessel's shields, which had protected them against conventional weapons for centuries, collapsed under the assault like paper in a hurricane, one by one. The Corthony ships found their weapon systems destroyed, their engines disabled, and their communication arrays turned into molten metal. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes, but those 10 minutes changed everything both species thought they knew about power in the galaxy. Captain Vordan's image reappeared on the main screen, his face showing shock and disbelief as he stared at the human captain. His forearms trembled as he struggled to process what had just happened to his supposedly invincible fleet. "Impossible," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Your weapons are primitive. Your technology is centuries behind ours. How did you do this?" Captain Morgan's expression remained calm as he looked at the defeated alien commander. "You made the same mistake that bullies always make. You assumed that being strong meant you would always be the strongest." The human captain paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "We will leave one of your ships operational, so you can report what happened here. Tell your empire that humanity is not as helpless as they believed." The USS Defiance continued its journey towards Antara Prime, leaving behind 11 disabled alien vessels, and one ship that would carry news of humanity's capabilities to the heart of the Galactic Council. The first message had been delivered, but the real demonstration was still to come. The Zentara system appeared on the USS Defiance's main screen like a jewel surrounded by darkness, its central star casting light across the massive fleet that waited in defensive formation around the planet. Captain Alex Morgan stood on the bridge, Studying the tactical display that showed over 500 alien vessels arranged in perfect military precision, the sight should have been intimidating. But the crew of the USS Defiance had seen what their weapons could do against alien technology. Each ship in the massive fleet represented centuries of galactic dominance. But centuries of dominance had also meant centuries of stagnation. Lieutenant Maya Turner worked at her tactical station, cataloging the different ship classes and their capabilities. Sensors are identifying vessels from all 12 Council species, she reported, her voice steady as she processed the overwhelming amount of data. The largest concentration appears to be Korthani Empire dreadnoughts, with significant support from Veltari Federation cruisers. The alien fleet moved with the confidence of predators who had never encountered anything that could threaten them. Their formations were textbook perfect, each ship positioned to provide maximum firepower while maintaining protective overlaps. It was the kind of deployment that had conquered entire star systems. Emperor Vexter's image appeared on the main communication screen, his massive form filling the display as he looked down at the human captain with the expression of someone addressing an amusing but ultimately insignificant annoyance. His four arms moved in gestures that conveyed both authority and barely contained amusement. "So the humans have finally arrived," Vexter said, his voice carrying across the bridge like the sound of distant thunder. "One small ship to face the combined might of the Galactic Council. Your species continues to demonstrate their complete lack of understanding about the reality of power in this galaxy." Behind the Emperor, the bridges of other flagship vessels could be seen on secondary displays, their commanders watching the proceedings with the kind of interest reserved for watching insects struggle against forces beyond their comprehension. Captain Morgan stepped forward, his uniform crisp and his bearing showing no sign of intimidation, despite facing the assembled might of 12 advanced civilizations. "Your Excellency, we are here to deliver a message from the people of Earth. We request the opportunity to demonstrate our capabilities before any final decisions are made." The Emperor's laughter filled the communication channel, joined by the voices of other alien commanders who found the human request particularly amusing. Admiral Zillanth appeared on a secondary screen, her crystalline features reflecting the light from her ship's instruments as she shook her head in disbelief. "Demonstrate your capabilities," Zillanth repeated, her voice carrying the tone of someone repeating a particularly funny joke. "Captain, you face over 500 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Each one of our vessels could reduce your entire planet to ash without effort." Emperor Vexter raised one of his four hands for silence, his expression showing the kind of patience that adults reserve for dealing with particularly stubborn children. "Very well, human. We will indulge your request for one final demonstration. Perhaps watching your primitive vessel destroyed will finally convince your species to accept reality." The Emperor's tone grew more serious as he continued, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "You have one opportunity to surrender and accept our terms. Submit to the Council's authority and your people will be treated with appropriate mercy. Continue this foolish resistance and face the consequences." Captain Morgan's expression remained calm, but his crew could see the slight tightening around his eyes that indicated his growing determination. "We are not here to surrender, Your Excellency. We are here to show you that humanity deserves respect as equals, not treatment as subjects." The alien fleet began to move into attack formation, their weapon systems charging with the distinctive energy signatures of technologies that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. The combined firepower represented enough destructive force to crack a planet's crust, all focused on one lone human vessel. Lieutenant Turner's console lit up with targeting data as hundreds of alien weapons locked onto the USS Defiance. "All enemy vessels are powering weapons," she reported, her voice steady despite the overwhelming odds they faced. "Estimated time to coordinated firing solution is 45 seconds. Sergeant Chris Bailey activated the ship's defensive systems, watching as the USS Defiance's advanced technology prepared to face the ultimate test. The ship's shields were designed to handle far more than what the aliens could deliver, but this would be the first time they faced such concentrated firepower. Shields at maximum power, Bailey reported, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who had spent years training with these systems. All defensive arrays are online and ready for engagement. The alien attack came like the birth of a new star, energy beams from 500 ships, converging on the human vessel with enough force to vaporize anything that had ever existed in the galaxy. The space around the USS Defiance became a blazing inferno of pure energy as the combined might of the Galactic Council unleashed everything they had. When the energy discharge finally ended, the alien commanders expected to see nothing but empty space where the human ship had been. Instead, the USS Defiance hung motionless in the void, its shields not even flickering from the massive assault. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the sound of alien voices trying to process what they had just witnessed. Emperor Vexler's face showed the first signs of uncertainty as he stared at the undamaged human vessel. "Impossible," Admiral Zillant whispered, her voice barely audible over the communication channel. "No ship can withstand that level of concentrated firepower. Our sensors must be malfunctioning." Captain Morgan's voice cut through the confusion with calm authority. "Your sensors are functioning perfectly, Admiral. Your attack was absorbed by our defensive systems and converted into power for our own weapons. Now we will demonstrate what humanity has learned about the proper use of force." The USS Defiance's main quantum lance began to charge, its energy building to levels that made the alien attack seem like a candle compared to the sun. The weapon's targeting system locked onto a small, uninhabited moon at the edge of the star. System, calculating the precise angle needed for maximum demonstration effect. "One shot," Captain Morgan announced, his voice carrying to every alien ship in the fleet. "Observe carefully what could happen to your entire fleet if we chose to use our full capabilities." The quantum lance fired with a sound like reality itself, tearing apart, the beam passing harmlessly through the alien fleet before striking the distant moon. The celestial body simply ceased to exist, vaporized so completely that not even dust remained where it had been. The alien fleet hung motionless in space, their crews struggling to comprehend what they had just witnessed. The humans had not only survived an attack that should have destroyed them, but had demonstrated the ability to eliminate their entire fleet with a single shot. "Emperor." Vexler's voice was barely a whisper when he finally spoke. "What are you?" The silence that followed the moon's destruction stretched across the Zentara system like a physical weight, broken only by the sound of alien voices struggling to process what they had just witnessed. Emperor Vexler stared at the empty space, where a celestial body had existed moments before, his forearms trembling as he tried to understand how everything he believed about galactic power had just been proven wrong. Captain Alex Morgan stood calmly on the bridge of the USS Defiance, watching the alien fleet maintain their distance while their commanders tried to make sense of the demonstration. The human vessel hung motionless in space, its weapons powered down but ready, like a predator that had just shown its claws without striking. Admiral Zilant's crystalline face reflected the confusion that rippled through the alien fleet as she struggled to accept the evidence before her eyes. "Our science division reported that human technology was centuries behind our own," she said, her voice carrying across the communication channels to other fleet commanders. "How is it possible that they possess weapons of such devastating power?" "Lieutenant." Maya Turner monitored the communication frequencies, listening as panic spread through the alien fleet like wildfire. Ship commanders demanded explanations from their superiors while science officers frantically ran diagnostic tests on their sensors. Unable to believe that their equipment was functioning correctly, Captain Morgan activated the ship's communication system, his voice carrying to every vessel in the massive fleet with calm authority. "Your science division was correct about one thing. Our conventional military forces are indeed centuries behind your technology. But you made a critical error in your assessment." The human captain paused, allowing his words to sink in before continuing. "You assumed that what you could see represented the full extent of our capabilities. You never considered that a species capable of splitting atoms and reaching their moon might have learned to hide their true achievements." Emperor Vexler's voice carried a new edge of uncertainty as he responded. his earlier arrogance replaced by the first hints of genuine concern. "You speak of deception, human. Are you claiming that your entire species has been deliberately misleading the Council about your technological development?" "Not deception, Your Excellency," Captain Morgan replied, his tone remaining respectful. "Despite the obvious shift in power dynamics, we simply chose not to reveal capabilities that we hoped never to use. Every crashed probe, every intercepted transmission, every piece of alien technology that found its way to our world was studied, understood, and improved upon." The communication channels filled with excited chatter as alien commanders began to understand the implications of what they were hearing. Their own overconfidence and dismissive attitude toward humanity had provided the perfect cover for Earth's technological advancement. Sergeant Chris Bailey monitored the weapon systems as several alien vessels began to move into new attack formations, their commanders apparently deciding that another assault might yield different results. "Captain, I'm detecting weapons charging on approximately 40 vessels scattered throughout the fleet." Captain Morgan's expression remained calm as he watched the tactical display show the alien ships preparing for another attack. "They still don't understand what they're facing. Lieutenant Turner, prepare targeted strikes on the vessels showing hostile intent. Disable engines and weapon systems only. No casualties unless absolutely necessary." The USS Defiance's quantum cannons swiveled toward their targets with mechanical precision, each weapon system locking onto specific components of the alien vessels. The ship's advanced targeting computers calculated firing solutions that would cripple the enemy ships without destroying them, demonstrating both overwhelming capability and remarkable restraint. Admiral Zillanth watched in horror as the human vessel's weapons targeted her own flagship, the beam passing so close to her bridge that she could feel the energy discharge through the ship's hull. When the firing stopped, her weapon systems were completely destroyed, but her crew remained unharmed. The same scene played out across 40 different alien vessels as the USS Defiance systematically disabled every ship that had shown hostile intent. The precision of the strikes was more terrifying than their power, proving that the humans could have destroyed the entire fleet, but had chosen mercy instead. "Stop this madness," Emperor Vexler commanded, his voice carrying across all communication channels as he watched his fleet being systematically neutralized. "All ships cease hostile actions immediately. Do not engage the human vessel under any circumstances." The Emperor's face showed the kind of fear that came from realizing that everything he had believed about his own superiority was wrong. "Captain Morgan, your point has been made. What do you want from the Council?" "The same thing we have always wanted," Captain Morgan replied, his voice carrying the weight of 3 years of diplomatic failures. "Recognition that humanity deserves a place in the galactic community as equals, not as subjects bowing to alien masters." The human captain's tone grew more serious as he continued, his words reaching every alien commander in the fleet. "Your Council offered us 2 choices, surrender or face destruction. We are here to present a third option that you had not considered." Captain Morgan paused, watching as more alien vessels powered down their weapons in response to their Emperor's commands. "Mutual respect between equals, based on demonstrated capability rather than ancient prejudices about technological superiority." The communication channels filled with urgent discussions as alien commanders tried to process the complete reversal of their situation. The species they had dismissed as primitive had just demonstrated the ability to destroy their entire fleet while showing the wisdom to choose restraint instead. Commander Torvik of the Jean Hegemony appeared on one of the secondary communication screens, his insectoid features clicking as he spoke with barely controlled panic. If humans possess such advanced weapons, why did they not reveal them during the initial negotiations? Why maintain the pretense of weakness? "Because true strength is knowing when not to use your power," Captain Morgan replied, his voice carrying the wisdom of someone who understood the difference between capability and necessity. "We hoped that diplomacy would be sufficient to establish peaceful relations with your civilizations." Lieutenant Turner's console displayed new movement patterns as the alien fleet began to reorganize. their formations shifting from aggressive postures to defensive arrangements. The psychological impact of the demonstration was proving even more effective than the physical destruction of the moon. Your species has forced us to reveal capabilities we preferred to keep hidden, Captain Morgan continued, his tone carrying a note of regret. But perhaps this demonstration will serve a greater purpose by establishing the foundation for genuine mutual respect. Emperor Vexler's voice was barely above a whisper when he finally responded, his earlier arrogance completely gone. The Council will need time to consider these new circumstances. Your capabilities have exceeded our projections by factors that our science division cannot yet calculate. The alien emperor paused, his forearms moving in gestures that seemed to convey both defeat and grudging respect. Perhaps it is time for the Galactic Council to learn from a species that has achieved in decades what we have failed to accomplish in centuries. The Galactic Council chambers on Zentara Prime felt different as ambassador. Kyle Martinez walked through the corridors that had once echoed with alien laughter at humanity's expense. The same beings who had mocked Earth's defenses now watched him with expressions ranging from wariness to genuine respect, their earlier arrogance replaced by the sobering reality of what they had witnessed. Emperor Vexler sat in his throne-like chair, but his posture lacked the commanding presence he had displayed just days earlier. His forearms moved with nervous energy as he studied reports from his fleet commanders, each document confirming what he already knew: humanity possessed technology that surpassed anything the Galactic Council had ever encountered. The holographic display in the center of the chamber showed the USS Defiance maintaining its position at the edge of the star system, its presence serving as a constant reminder of the power that Earth had kept hidden for so long. The ship's elegant design seemed almost peaceful, but every alien in the chamber now understood the devastating capabilities that rested within that deceptively calm exterior. Admiral Zillanth approached the Emperor's throne, her crystalline features reflecting the light from damaged sections of her flagship that were still undergoing repairs. Your Excellency, our engineering teams have completed their analysis of the human weapon signatures. The energy output readings exceed our theoretical maximums by factors we cannot yet calculate. The Emperor's voice carried a weariness that had not been present during their earlier encounters with humanity. And our own weapons had no effect whatsoever on their defensive systems? None, Your Excellency, Zillanth confirmed, her tone carrying the weight of someone delivering news that challenged everything she had believed about galactic warfare. Their shields absorbed our combined assault and actually seemed to grow stronger from the energy input. Our science division believes they have developed some form of energy conversion, technology that turns incoming attacks into power for their own systems. Kyle Martinez entered the chamber with the bearing of someone who no longer needed to plead for his species' recognition. The alien representatives who had once ignored his presence now watched his every movement, understanding that he spoke for a civilization capable of reshaping the balance of power in the galaxy. Ambassador Martinez, Emperor Vexler said, his voice carrying a respect that had been completely absent from their previous meetings. Your people have demonstrated capabilities that have exceeded our understanding of what was possible. The Council is prepared to discuss new terms for humanity's place in the galactic community. Kyle took his position at the speaking podium, looking out at faces that showed a mixture of fear, curiosity, and grudging admiration. Your Excellency, Earth's terms remain the same as they have always been: full membership in the Galactic Council with all rights and privileges, recognition of human sovereignty over our home system, and mutual respect between our civilizations. The ambassador paused, allowing his words to sink in before continuing. However, recent events have made it necessary to add compensation for the Council's hostile intentions toward our species. The threat of military action against Earth cannot be ignored or forgotten. Commander Torvik of the Jean Hegemony shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his insectoid features clicking as he spoke. What form of compensation does your species demand? Surely you understand that the Council acted based on incomplete information about human capabilities. Kyle's expression remained calm, but his voice carried the authority of someone backed by overwhelming force. The incomplete information was the result of your own assumptions and refusal to take humanity seriously. Earth demands technology. Sharing agreements, trade partnerships on equal terms, and formal apologies for the threats made against our people. The chamber filled with murmurs as alien representatives discussed the implications of humanity's demands among themselves. The species that had once considered humans to be primitive subjects were now being asked to treat them as equals in every meaningful way. Emperor Vexler raised one of his four hands for silence, his expression showing the kind of resignation that came from accepting inevitable change. The Council accepts your terms, Ambassador Martinez. Humanity will be granted full membership with all associated rights and privileges. The Emperor's tone grew more somber as he continued, his words carrying across the chamber to every alien representative present. Perhaps this experience will serve as a valuable lesson for all our civilizations. Arrogance and assumptions about technological superiority have blinded us to the potential of species we considered inferior. Captain Alex Morgan's voice reached the chamber through the communication system, transmitted from the USS Defiance as it maintained its vigil at the edge of the star system. The human fleet will be departing Zentara Prime within the hour. We trust that future interactions between our civilizations will be conducted with the mutual respect that equals deserve. The alien representatives watched as the tactical display showed the USS Defiance beginning its journey back toward Earth, joined by escort vessels that had been waiting in the outer system. The sight of multiple human ships moving in formation served as a final reminder that Earth's capabilities extended far beyond what they had revealed during their demonstration. Kyle Martinez gathered his diplomatic materials, preparing to return to Earth with news that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The first alien diplomatic mission will be welcome on Earth in 30 days. We look forward to beginning a new era of cooperation between our species. Admiral Zelenth approached the human ambassador as he prepared to leave, her crystalline features reflecting genuine curiosity rather than the dismissive arrogance she had shown before. Ambassador, may I ask how your species achieved such rapid technological advancement? Our civilizations have been developing for millennia, yet you surpassed us in mere decades. Kyle smiled, his expression showing the pride of someone representing a species that had proven its worth through determination and innovation. We never stopped learning, Admiral. While your civilizations became comfortable with your superiority, humanity continued to push the boundaries of what was possible. The ambassador paused at the chamber entrance, looking back at the alien representatives who were still struggling to process the complete reversal of their situation. Perhaps that is the most important lesson from these events. True advancement comes from constant effort, not from resting on past achievements. As Kyle Martinez departed Zentara Prime aboard his diplomatic transport, the alien representatives remained in the chamber, discussing the implications of humanity's emergence as a galactic power. The species they had dismissed as primitive had not only proven their technological superiority, but had done so while maintaining the wisdom to choose restraint over conquest. Emperor Vexler stared at the empty space where the human fleet had been positioned, his four arms moving in gestures that conveyed both defeat and a grudging respect for the species that had taught his empire a lesson in humility. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that change would benefit everyone willing to learn from humanity's example. The age of human exploration and cooperation among the stars had begun, built not on conquest or subjugation, but on the foundation of demonstrated strength tempered by wisdom. Earth had earned its place among the galactic civilizations through capability and restraint, proving that true power came from knowing when not to use it.